Big news in the tech world today as Google's CEO Eric Schmidt has been asked to resign from Apple's board effective immediately. Eric Schmidt, of course, he's been with Apple for a couple years, and as Google and Apple move closer together to competing, there are more conflicts of interest that arise, and Eric becomes less of an asset on their board, not to mention the inevitable war that's brewing in the mobile space between Android and iPhone. What's going on here? We bring in a couple industry experts. Kevin Tofel from JK on the Run joins us. Kevin, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Randall.
Also, Rob Enderle from the Enderle Group joins us as well. Rob, thanks for being with us.
Good to be here.
So this is one of those situations where we all kind of saw it coming. Eventually, Apple and Google would continue to compete until it became a problem. Today, that problem, I guess, manifested itself in the way of the FCC making an inquiry into Apple's rejection of Google Voice. Kevin, what's your take on the situation? Do you think things are changing? How are things changing more specifically?
Well, I think, Randall, that Google has really been stepping it up, and not just with what they're doing in the mobile space, but they're starting to hit Microsoft where it hurts with Office and Google Docs and Windows and the Chrome OS. I think Apple's got to be taking notice of that. And, of course, obviously they've got their whole Android platform and that's competing with the iPhone. So, you know, at some point this had to have happened. I'm surprised it actually didn't happen sooner, to be honest.
I think that's the sentiment that's been expressed by most people is, you know, especially with Android and iPhone being direct competitors and Chrome OS inevitably becoming a competitor in the netbook space, they can sort of compete with Apple. Rob, what's your take on the news?
Well, first off, I think Eric was fired. The code here in the Valley for mutually agreed means fired. If somebody quits, they say that they left. The company says they left for other things, and we know what the other things are, or whatever. But mutually agreed tends to be code for fired. And Eric, right prior to this, had gone on record saying he wasn't planning on leaving. And I think he should have left as soon as Google had figured that they were going to bring out a competing platform to Apple's. Because if he didn't, they were going to have FTC problems, and clearly they are now having FTC problems because you've got two large competitors that are that appear to be colluding at a board level, which is something that's unheard of.
Drama.
I think the problem here is Eric got tied up in the celebrity of his role and the celebrity of being on the Apple board, and he didn't want to let it go because he saw it as a perk.
Yeah.
And Steve Jobs was sick, so Steve couldn't really take action. And I've got to think even with him back, there probably were a number of other priorities other than cleaning up the board. But when these FCC and FTC events started happening, I think
he became a priority.
Yeah, suddenly this moved to the top of the list, and it was time to say bye-bye to Eric.
Well, it's good to note also, like you were mentioning with the FTC entering that probe, some people saying that Google doesn't hire Apple's engineers. There's not really a free market going on between Apple and Google. It's definitely something, something had to break, and it's, we're all kind of surprised it took this long. Let's talk about the impacts now for a second. Kevin, do you see any direct impacts in the future? I mean, we've seen seamless integration between Apple and Google in the past, especially with things like YouTube appearing on the iPhone as the first really third-party application. Do you think that we're going to lose some of that tight-knit integration with Google Maps and other applications that we had seen in the past? If we haven't lost it already with Google Voice, that is.
Sure. With two things coming to mind, Randall. First of all, what you guys just described, it's almost like a reality show in Silicon Valley right now, which is kind of funny. Secondly, though, there's obviously going to be an impact. And as you mentioned, YouTube, Google Maps was integrated into the first iPhone and each subsequent generation. Google Voice, as we know, has been rejected from the App Store. That doesn't mean you can't use Google Voice on an iPhone. I use it every day, actually, and have for months on the Google Voice mobile site. I really don't see either an Apple or an AT&T or whoever else really get involved at that level. So I think what you'll see, Randall, is you won't see the Google features as prominent. You'll find backdoor methods to some. Some may actually just disappear entirely. But Google wants to be everywhere. They want you clicking on ads and using their services. So I don't think they're going away from the Apple platform in any way.
It'd definitely be interesting. I don't know, Rob, any takes on how things are going to change because of this drama?
Well, yeah, I think that's correct. As long as Google's tied to the web and can get to their stuff over the web. Remember the iPod platform originally, all the applications were going to be delivered that way.
Yeah.
They came up with the App Store thing after developers collectively said, "Huh?" So Google's going to try to deliver apps the way that Apple had originally wanted the apps developed, and we'll see how well they do. I mean, typically, if you're going to deliver through the browser, you've got some problems with regard to native performance. The browser is an x86-centric kind of platform, and in fact, that's one of the reasons that Intel's trying to move their Atom part into the cell phone space. Is they're convinced that they can actually do what Google's going to be trying to do on the iPhone on iPhone-like devices but devices that aren't running ARM, devices that are running x86 code.
Yeah.
So they'll be much more capable of doing things like Google's planning on the iPhone. So yeah, you'll be able to do much of this stuff on the iPhone. I don't think the experience is going to be as good as it would be with an integrated app. I do think that, by the way, that I don't think AT&T booted Google Voice off.
I think that's kind of a lot of people, that are these conspiracy theorist types that we kind of tend to all be at some time, have said that AT&T booted them out. No, to me, and I think a lot of people, AT&T has said as much. Basically, we didn't do it. Of course, AT&T could be hiding behind some thinly veiled language or whatever. But to me, I mean, Apple stands most to gain from not having Google Voice in the App Store, not duplicating functionality as they continuously claim. Anyway, guys, we're out of time, so we're going to leave it there. Kevin Tofel from JK on the Run, is at jkontheRun.com, part of the Giga Ohm network. Kevin is the man, by the way. Just thought I'd throw it in there as well. Thanks. Also, Rob Enderle from the Enderle Group. It's a consulting firm. So Rob is one of the smartest guys that's been on the show. And I just like to give my guests a big head before that. We mentioned that you guys should subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube and everywhere else. And maybe my guests will tell you where you can subscribe to us too. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see you later.